Hey everybody, time to dive into some interesting controversy. Oy vey. The question has been asked over the last couple of months with Game Shop Works or whatever it's called, the company that owns Warhammer 40k. Why are there no female space marines? Well, the answer is actually not all that complicated. Sargon of Akkad was saying, well, look, it would ruin the lore. I think Wes Hammer has said something to a similar effect. But Game Shop Works, if I'm remembering their name correctly, saying, well, we might have female space marines later on. Don't, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Here's why there are no female space marines. But first of all, there are female marines. There are female soldiers in Warhammer 40k. There's plenty of them, of the standard human variety, not the transhuman variety. But there are semi-transhuman females who could be considered soldiers in the 41st millennium of war and Grim Derp. The Sisters of Battle, the Daughters of the Emperor, the Brides of the Emperor, numerous female chapters of female-only battle nuns, basically, because that's what they look like if you see the pictures of them. And they've been around for millennia. Now, they're not genetically augmented like the Space Marines are. They're not immortal. They're not totally superhuman, but it's pretty obvious if you look at them that they're wearing power armor, and there has been some genetic manipulation to make them all nearly 6 feet tall, bristling with muscle and a lot of ass kick. Okay, so you can't tell me that there ain't a little bit of transhumanism in that. Now, as to why there are no female Space Marines, here's why. The original Space Marine template was created from the Emperor's DNA himself, the God Emperor of Mankind, the Emperor of Mankind, whatever you want to call him. He created 20 Primarchs, 2 of who are missing, and these 20 Primarchs were all based off of his DNA and a deviation from somebody else's DNA. So basically, he created 20 sons. 19 of them were present after they were scattered into the warp. And he found them later on and continued the Great Crusade to unite mankind. So you have nothing but men in all of this. Now, the Space Marines are created from what they know as gene seeds. What are the gene seeds? The gene seeds are basically a package of genetics, DNA, chemical concoctions that are derived from each one of the 18 surviving Primarchs. That's what as well as organs, that's what the Space Marines are created from. They're given a shot of DNA from a Primarch. They have organs installed, chemicals, steroids, super testosterone, hypergrowth, whatevers, and blah, 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 blah. All the Primarchs are male. All the Primarchs are male. So what does that mean? You can't insert transhuman, superhuman, immortal DNA from males into females. Whoops! Damn! Well, that just goes to show you all these people bitching about there's no female Space Marines. Obviously haven't read the lore. Now here's a crazy thing for you. I barely read the lore. I'm not a big Warhammer 40k fan. I'm a fan of watching all of these guys talk about it. It's hilariously funny. I like the lore. It's really cool. I'm a writer at heart, so I love well-written, well-crafted lore. And Warhammer 40k has got some well-crafted fucking lore. So if you have to go by the lore, there can't be any female Space Marines. Okay? It's just not physically possible, since all of the gene seeds created for Space Marines were created from males. So you can't insert male genetics into females. It would kill them. And you have to remember, all Space Marines are generally trained either from childhood or they are inducted into the Space Marines at adulthood. Their bodies are converted through a mixture of surgery, gene therapy, hormones, all sorts of crazy shit to turn a guy who at most may be 6 feet tall to a guy who's anywhere between 8 to 10 feet tall, with the Primaris Marines being the most currently biggest ones. They're about 10 to 11 feet fucking tall. All right, so, I mean, you're not going to create a female that's capable of bearing nearly half a ton to a ton of power armor and carrying a bolter that's over 100 pounds. All right? Female bodies ain't meant to handle that shit. Just saying. Just saying. I'm like Goku. I'm just saying. So this crap about female space marines, sorry ladies, it's not going to happen. Now, what Game Shop Works could do is that they could say, well, okay, we'll just come up with some bullshit to put women in power armor. Like Ripley. Ripley had that big ass Walker power armor damn thing. You do the same thing for the ladies. You do the same thing, but you can't make them space marines because none of the space marines are female. None of the gene seeds are female. So you can't make female space marines. Now, I guess the other thing you could do is you could find some bullshit way to create a female space marine. I don't know. You come up with some bullshit. You found one. I guess what you could do with this. Let's say you had a retired space marine. He banged one of the sisters of battle or some shit and produced a hot, sexy female daughter who was like 7 or 8 feet tall. Oh yeah, we can make her a space marine. We can take her gene seed and make her a space marine. Make some space marines or some shit. Female space marines. You could do that shit. I'm pretty sure there's some space marines that have laid down and got some nookie. But I'm not suggesting you do that, Game Shop Works. In fact, I'm not suggesting anybody do that shit. All right, just let us have the Sisters of Battle, okay? The Daughters of the Emperor. The Blood Sisters. Let us have that shit. That shit's tight. I like that shit. I like big-titted ladies dressed in nun-like power armor whooping ass. That's some hot shit. That really is. You don't need to make them into hulking mountains of muscle with power armor on. Kind of ruins the mystique of the lady, Well, I just had to put that out there. I've actually had this video and explanation in mind now for almost a month. Well, yeah, about a month, actually. A little more than a month. But that is why there are no female space marines. Recap real quick, just for those of you who like to skip through. There can be no female space marines because all the gene seed used to make space marines are for males. There is no female space marine gene seed for them to work. Any attempts to use the male gene seed in order to create a female space marine would end up with the death of the female, which would be a waste. All right, then. Thank you, everybody. May the Emperor bless you with his holy light. The Emperor protects. Blah, blah, blah. Bye-bye.